Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago, and it's TGI Mickey Ficky Friday, baby. Man, we got to get to this guy because this was a rough one last night. Blackhawks as they fall to the Vegas Golden Knights yesterday in overtimes. We want to get this guy on and get his take on it. He's from the Rink Official, and you can find him on Twitter at one of the best Twitter handles around at Puck and Hostel. Guys, let's welcome back to Shawn and Maya, Jeff Osborn. Jeff, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm a little hurt right now. I thought we had it. I need a little more from Kane, maybe a little more from a little more from Taves. We were talking about it earlier. You know, the youngsters brought them. They got us to a 3-3 tie with Kubalik, with Doc, and Dylan Strome. And although Kane had assist, and the captain had an assist, I needed my superstars to carry us in that third period when they didn't. We were outshot 16-6, I believe, in that third period, and that's where it seemed like they took the foot off the gas pedal. And when you're a three-time Stanley Cup champion like Taves and Kane, you know you don't take your foot off the gas pedal, especially when you're the underdog. Give me your thoughts on that game yesterday, especially that third period where the Hawks just seemed to coast.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really as much the Hawks coasted as the Golden Knights just turned it on. The Golden Knights are just a better team. They're a superior team. And there's a reason the Blackhawks are, the last ranked team in the conference, and the Vegas Golden Knights are up at the top of the conference. There's just such a disparity between both teams. And the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, they came in and there was a late scratch with Max Pacioretty, so they're missing their captain, one of their best players. And they were kind of feeling out the Blackhawks. Maybe they came in and underestimated them a little bit because of the way that they kind of really came in and stormed the Blackhawks in game one and controlled the action from beginning to end. They came out a little bit slow. The Blackhawks, honestly, the Vegas Golden Knights went up early, so it's like the Blackhawks just can't hang with these guys long enough. They have a few flashes here and there, but for the most part, you can't hang. There's just so much of a class disparity between the two teams that the Blackhawks can't hang that long with them.
Jeff, I agree with you. And when they had this, when the matchups or the pairings were set, I was not a happy camper. I felt and I knew that they could get past Edmonton, which they did. When they got the number one seed, I was like, man, this team just went to the Western Conference Finals, 2 seasons ago in their inaugural season. And when I watched the first couple of games, especially game one, it looked like the Blackhawks were playing the 2010 Blackhawks. They're deep. They're fast. They got to these pucks. They were aggressive. They peppered the goalie. And just to watch it from 2010, so in a 10-year span, to watch our Hawks do what they did and then watch someone do to them what they did to so many different teams for, a 6-7 year period, man, that was tough.
Yeah, I mean, there's teams in the NHL like Colorado and, Vegas now, younger, up-and-coming teams that are built to win in the playoffs. The Blackhawks are not built to win in the playoffs. Despite what you might hear from, several media outlets, they're not big enough. Their youth is still inexperienced. They haven't seen the playoffs. Some of these players haven't seen the playoffs at all. They haven't been in the playoffs for like 3 years. So you got DeBrincat and Strome and players like that, and then even like Kubalik, who have not seen NHL playoff action. Now, granted, this is a little bit weird. It's a weird year with the COVID thing, and a lot of teams are coming in a little bit slow for the playoffs, but it's still playoff hockey, and these are all really good teams. You're not playing against any slouches. Edmonton was they had a lot of holes, and it could have went either way. Corey Crawford played well in that last game, and it was all up for grabs. And kudos to the Blackhawks for doing that, but Boquist and all these young guys have not seen playoff action before. They don't know what this heavy hockey's like with, Ryan Reeves out there just running people down and, and Max Pacioretty, and you got Stastny, and you got they come in waves. Vegas does, and they're solid from top to bottom, and their defensemen are big, and of course the goalie situation. They've got two really good goalies. The Blackhawks have Corey Crawford, who is coming off having COVID, who is 36 years old, who is an injury risk, who has had several concussions. He's doing the best he can out there, but at a certain point, Corey Crawford is not Corey Crawford of 2015 anymore.
No, he's not. And guys, we're joined by Jeff Osborn from the Dash Rink official, talking a little Blackhawks hockey right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning. It was give me your thoughts on the youngster, Kirby Dach. I wasn't very enamored with the pick when they got him. But man, as I'm watching this kid play, there does not seem to be a moment that is too big for him. There does not seem to be a moment that overwhelms this young kid. Now, he's not a superstar yet by any stretch, okay? But I don't see him being a deer in the headlights at all. And that was evident. That continued. My thought process on that continued when he scored the first goal for the Blackhawks yesterday. Give me your thoughts on Kirby Dach and his first playoff run. And is he old enough to drink yet?
No, he's not. He's 19.
In his first playoffs. Give me your thoughts on how this youngster is playing and how well you think he's going to progress.
Well, historically, I was for the pick. I thought the Blackhawks needed dynamic young forwards. They had enough defensemen they had picked. They had picked like 6 defensemen in the first 2 rounds in the previous years. They had enough defensemen in the system. I was for them picking a young dynamic forward. And being that high in the draft, third overall, you have high expectations. Don't tell Dylan Strome that. But he's good. He's big. He's still a little thin. He's got to grow into his body. But I think his experience during the regular season showed him and gave him the confidence that he can actually play in the NHL at his age. I mean, I don't think there was any doubt he was going to play in the NHL eventually. But at his age, as a rookie, playing in the NHL, playing regular shifts, that confidence really just continued into training camp and then continued, now into the playoffs. He doesn't seem to be scared by much, which is really nice to see. I don't know, he may or may not be that first line center of the future to replace Jonathan Toews when that day comes. But even if he's not right now, to be a really good second line center, the Blackhawks haven't had a whole lot of really good second line centers over this past decade. So, he comes in there, he solidifies that second line center. What that means for Dylan Strome, I can't tell you. Based on the metrics and what I've seen from the line matchups and everything, I think Dylan Strome may not be in Chicago much longer. But back to Kirby Dach, I'm impressed with what I see. He looks like he has a bright future ahead. We're only into his first season, so who knows? But it looks promising to me.
Yeah, I am just surprised at how well he's taken this at 19. At 19 years old, the kid's 21, 22. Okay, I get it. You have a little more experience. I mean, he spent like an hour in juniors, before he was up in the NHL, and he's performed at a level, again, not a superstar level by any stretch, and nowhere near that. But he just, as you talked about, doesn't seem scared. Like I said, he's not a deer in the headlights. It doesn't seem too big for him. It doesn't overwhelm him, and that to me is a good thing. Talk to me about Kubalik. He scored a goal yesterday too, and he's been pretty. He was up for Rookie of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. The Hawks still have a lot of young talent. You don't, and let's not forget one guy who's been kind of absent is the cat, Alex DeBrincat. But he's another guy who's extremely talented and lit the lamp a lot last season. The Hawks seem to be replenishing themselves very well with a lot of goal scorers. We just need a little more solid defensemen. Yeah,
I'm a big Kubalik fan. I love him. I got his jersey. I can't wait till they extend him. He's a big body. He's made for playoffs. He's a sniper. He doesn't shy away from contact. He's not as fast as you'd like him to be, but he's definitely faster than better than average. Mm-hmm. He's got a great shot, one of the best shots on the team, and that's something that really impressed me before he actually came to play for the Blackhawks. Was that his shot, the way he was used over in Europe, he was used as that what we've seen traditionally from Patrick Kane or Artemi Panarin, where they would set him up in the slot for that one timer, and that's what Kubalik, brings to this team is that shot, that laser, that laser of a shot, and it's something that we saw a little bit with Alex DeBrincat early on. DeBrincat's a whole nother situation. I mean, Kubalik, I think they got to extend him. They're going to have to maybe do a bridge deal with him. Otherwise, they could get stuck paying him $6 million a year. But DeBrincat, he's another thing. I've been, kind of crunching the numbers on DeBrincat, and he only had 18 goals this year, and he's going to be making $6.4 million come, the start of next season, which is in a couple months. You can't just score 18 goals for this team and make $6.4 million. They need more than that. And even going back to the previous season before that, he the final month of the season, he only had, 4 or 5 goals. So he's been, since March of 2019, he's got 23 goals. It's 18 months, and he's had no playoff goals at all. Alex DeBrincat either needs to step up or the Blackhawks need to decide that they may need to move on from Alex DeBrincat, because $6.4 million on a flat cap is going to hurt this team badly.
Jeff, because honestly, I think we all see it that Vegas is definitely superior, especially if you're watching the games from the start to finish. It's just they hit another gear whenever they want, and it doesn't seem like the Blackhawks. It seems like the Blackhawks are always caught, on their heels. How does this playoff experience, because they're not supposed to be here, like this wasn't supposed to happen. How does this experience bode for them going forward, especially with the younger guys? Because what I see is inexperience out there. Some of the mistakes that they've made, especially in that first game going into the third, that's silly, dumb mistakes. And then not to mention Corey not knocking one down that he should have knocked down. But how is this experience going to bode for them moving forward? Because they're a young team, and they did take the Knights to overtime, and they did look to give them a run for their money in the first game until a few mistakes started to pop up. How do they look moving forward after this playoff experience?
Yeah, It's an unpopular take that I would have rather that they had a shot at trying to get that first overall pick to try to add a dynamic forward to their system, another one, which I think could have really, catapulted them and made this rebuild, quote unquote, rebuild on the fly, even, move up a season or so. But they didn't. They won, and you can't, saying that they should lose is bad form. You don't want to do that. So they won. They beat a team that had a lot of holes, and you know what? That's good experience for them. It's good experience for Adam Boqvist. It's good experience for Kubalik, even DeBrincat, Strome, any of the young guys on the team, Doc especially too. You want that playoff experience. You want them to see what it's like to be in the playoffs, how the game changes, how it gets heavier, how it gets harder to be able to dance around players, how you're not going to see bad teams at all, probably. The teams are only going to get harder as you go on. That's going to be invaluable for them in 2 or 3 years when this team is ready to actually compete for a Stanley Cup, because they're not ready now. They won't be ready next season. Maybe 2-3 seasons. They might be able to back on that rise. Unfortunately, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews are going to be in the last years of the contract around then, or on their next contracts by then. So it's a weird dynamic. It's a weird window that they have going on here. But the experience is invaluable to them. They need to see this. They need to feel this. You can watch it on TV, but it's not the same as being in the game.
Right. And like you just said, you need to feel this. You need to feel a 4-3 loss in overtime. You need to experience that, because then you go back to the drawing board and you start picking out your mistakes. What shouldn't I do next go around? I just feel like the Hawks, they're scratching the surface. Like I believe you when you say 3 years away. What steps can they take to, I wouldn't say speed up the process, but what steps should they be making moving forward to make sure that they're back in contention within the next few years?
Yeah, it's hard because like I said, they need more offensive dynamic players. Luckily, Dominic Kubalik came into the system, and he's basically like a free high first round draft pick. And they got him for a 5th round pick. I mean, he was really just discarded by the Kings. So they got that going for him, and they were able to do that. Unfortunately, now they're going to probably be drafting in the 16, 17, 18 range, which is not going to get you that dynamic player that you're going to see, for maybe 2-3 seasons, if at all. So you don't know what you're going to get out of this draft unless you move up. Unfortunately, with the way the flat cap is and the way they've structured their salary system, they don't have a lot of leeway to sign players, unrestricted free agents. They're going to have to worry about signing their restricted free agents. And some of them they're probably going to have to let go because they're not going to be able to afford them. Because like I said before, Alex DeBrincat's going to be making $6.4 million. Kubalik is going to get a raise. They don't have a lot of money to play with. Corey Crawford, they're going to have to sign a goalie. They need a starting goalie to start the season. When the season starts 12-1, December 1st, they're going to need a starting goalie. And if it's Corey Crawford, he's probably going to be making $4.5 to $5 million. You're not going to lose that money off the cap. Maybe $1 million you're going to lose. So their salary structure is kind of screwed up, and unfortunately, they're probably going to have to maybe Dylan Strome, Drake Kajula, maybe even Slater Cuckoo are going to all have to probably be let go and not be retained. But they did bring in Pius Suter, he's a European player, who'd be a good depth player, kind of like a Dominic Cahoon was a couple of years ago. He's not going to come in and do what Kubalik's done, even though he played in the same league and led the league in scoring. He's a smaller player. He's not, the same kind of player that Kubalik is. But they've done a good job of going. They're probably going to have to go over to Europe and try to snag free agents out of Europe. That would be the best way to speed it up. But they really are going to need to decide what they're going to do in net, because you can't rely on 36-year-old Corey Crawford next year and then the year after and then the year after when he's going to be 38 years old. We all love Corey Crawford. I love Corey Crawford. I've been a Crawford defender for a decade, damn near a decade. But he's getting older. He's got injury problems. Like, he's not going to be around forever. People have to understand this. Like, 40-year-old Mike Singletary wasn't going to come in and be what he was in his mid-20s. He's just not. So they have to decide what they're going to do. They have to figure out a plan in net. That's going to be a big one, because if you don't have a goalie that can at least be above average in the playoffs, and Corey Crawford has not been above average. As good as he's looked in some games, he's well below average. One of the worst goalies actually in the playoffs with his save percentage and all that stuff. He's under 90% save percentage, which is not good. I mean, it may have gone up with the game yesterday, but out of the first 5 games, he was like 890 something, which is not good. I mean, goalies get run out of the NHL for having that kind of the save percentage. So, I love Corey Crawford. He's doing what he can, but they're just not a strong enough team, and they need to build from within. They need to develop players. They need young, dynamic players, but they also need to get players that can play that playoff hockey. Tough guys, strong guys, not little guys. That can dance around the perimeter, because you've seen that with like Alex Nylander. I mean, he doesn't
do anything.
Yeah, he's nothing. He played 9 minutes yesterday, and that's the guy you gave up a top 4 defenseman for, a 20-year-old top 4 defenseman for Alex Nylander, and he's playing 9 minutes a game. And he played in the third period. He played like 2 or 3 shifts, and they were short shifts. He was benched for almost the whole third period.
Guys, we're joined by Jeff Osborn for another moment or so. He's from the Rink.com, talking a little Blackhawks hockey right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago. Well, Jeff, you stole my thunder, because that was going to be my very next question. Where do the Hawks go between the pipes? Because I don't want to see Corey Crawford in a Blackhawks sweater again next year. I think I don't think he should be in the NHL. I just don't want him to get seriously injured again. The concussion issues, we have such a high view of Corey Crawford for what he's done for our franchise, and I just don't want to see him, carted off the ice because he gets the back of his head slams against the crossbar, or the goalpost. It's just, you know what I mean. I don't want to do that. I want to let it go where he's got 2 Stanley Cups in that. He's got a little kid, a young child
2.
He's got to deal with 2.
He's got 2.
He's got to be a dad. So I don't want to see him in the Blackhawk sweater and in anything. He could be able to go in the booth and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So are you saying Europe is the place to go? Is it? I mean, it's going to be tough with that. I mean, do we make a trade? Because you did mention we do have a lot of young prospects, some talented guys that we could get a goalie at. So do we get a goalie who's like on the downslide and then draft the goalie and get a goalie to and curate or and develop him? What do we do? Because you can't, you know, to go and get a top-notch goalie, you know, I mean, man, too bad we didn't have another goalie this year with Corey Crawford that could have been good in the playoffs. Wow, man, that would have,
They didn't going to make the playoffs. They didn't know they were going to make the playoffs, you know.
Technically, they didn't really make the playoffs. They got a participation trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, the first thing is the Leonard thing. Like, they should have locked up Robin Leonard. The second he was able to be extended, they should have extended him. He was a 27-year-old goalie, one of the best goalies in the NHL.
Finalist.
Yeah, twice, pretty much, yeah. One of the best goalies in the NHL, good pedigree. He's great in the locker room. He's a leader. Unfortunately, the Blackhawks necessarily don't like people that speak out that much, which could have caused part of the issue. But they should have extended him January 1st when they were able to. The negotiations went bad. He wanted like 5 years. They only wanted to give him 2, which I don't really necessarily understand, because if you're going to develop a goalie in your system, it's going to take you around 5 years to develop a goalie, or at least it's going to take 3 years. And then you have Robin Leonard to then be a tutor for a young goalie. So I don't know what their actual plan was with that, but they traded him. They got a second-round pick and a future Rockford Ice Hogs legend, to play, is a sweetener for the trade. But there's a couple of schools of thought here. You could go the UFA route, which I think if you're going to go the UFA route, your best bet is to just have Crawford back for a season or 2, no more than that. Otherwise, you got Braden Holtby, which I don't trust. You've got Matt Murray coming from Pittsburgh, who they're just ready. They want to throw him out of town. So why are we going to take someone else's garbage? And there's not a lot of 1A goalies out there. There, in fact, really isn't really any 1A goalies. You could call Holtby a 1A goalie, but I don't trust him, especially behind a team with suspect defense. He's been playing behind Washington forever. So, and Washington's a good team. So, but you could do that, or you can go over to Europe. You could try and poach a guy, which they've been very successful with doing. Antti Niemi, Antti Ranta. Even though Scott Darling didn't come from over there, they poached him as a free agent. You've got goalies like that, but that's a hit or miss thing too. And what I was, and actually our whole site, all of our writers were kind of in agreement here that if the Blackhawks, were to draft where we thought they were going to draft, which is around the 10, 11 area, there's a young goalie from Russia. It's Yaroslav Askarov. He is probably the best young goaltending prospect to come through the NHL since Carey Price. And everyone's afraid of drafting a goalie early in the first round, and I can understand why. But some prospects are worth the
chance.
Yeah, I mean, like the guy that's in Tampa Bay. I mean, he was drafted high in the first round. So it's some of these goalies have that pedigree and just are that good. And I was hoping the Blackhawks, and I didn't think they would, because they haven't drafted and developed a goalie in their system since Corey Crawford back in when he was drafted. That's how long it's been since they've drafted and developed a goalie in this system, in the early 2000s, over 15 years. So I didn't think they were going to do it, but what I would have liked to have seen them do is draft Askarov. You've got about 3 years to develop him in the system. And if they were to sign, Robin Leonard for 5 years, you'd have the young goalie coming in, the old goalie kind of going out. It seemed like it was a perfect scenario for the Blackhawks to then usher in all those young players. You got a solid goalie back there. You don't have to worry about it. The young defenseman make a mistake, you have Leonard back there to shut the door for him, or at least hold him into games and let him be competitive for a couple of years. They didn't do that. Now, I don't know where Stanbo, I don't know what his plan is. He doesn't have a plan. There's no plan. They have Corey Crawford, who's unsigned for next year. They have no other goalie in the system. They have Colin Delia, who I love. Colin Delia, I love him. I'm the world's biggest Colin Delia fan. The problem is he's probably just a backup goalie in the NHL. He's not going to carry you. You've got Kevin Lankinen, who hasn't played in the NHL. and he played good in, some overseas, participation trophy tournament. You can't count on that to be your next guy. And then they've got, Matt Tompkins and a couple other guys. They had another goalie they drafted a couple years ago that they didn't even sign. They let his rights expire, which I don't understand. They have no plan in net. They right now they have no plan, and that's what is everyone should be most afraid of next year is they have no plan. And if Corey Crawford is your plan, you should still be afraid because he's not getting better. He's going to slowly decline.
Guys, that's Jeff Osborn from the-rink.com. Great stuff as always, buddy. I appreciate your time. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. He's got one of the best, if not the, arguably the best top 2 Twitter handles of all time. I got to find the other one, but at fucking Hostel, man, that is a freaking awesome Twitter handle. Follow him on Twitter at fucking Hostel, and again at the-rink.com. Great stuff, Jeff. I appreciate it, buddy. We'll be in touch soon.
Thanks, man.
All right now. Guys, that's Jeff Osborn. Great stuff. And yeah, he said exactly what I thought he would, man. The Hawks are like, and I knew it. But just when someone else says it, they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. And so it's frustrating. Well, listen, we're going to switch gears, and Ivan's going to be all happy as we close out the show and close out the week because we're going to talk to our girl, Sarah Sanchez, on the other side of the break. We're going to talk a little Cubbies baseball. You see Ivan with his shirt.
Oh, no.
She writes for she's with Lee Cubby Blue. It's an SB Nation site dedicated solely to people like Ivan and Sarah and those people. So on the other side of the break, Sarah Sanchez talking Cubs baseball. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago.